What if the reason your prayers feel powerless is not because God is far, but because you have not approached Him the way He intended? I have met so many people who say they pray every night, every morning, and yet they feel nothing changes. They carry the same burdens, fight the same fears, and wonder if heaven is even listening. But the truth is, prayer is not just about speaking, it is about entering the presence of the Almighty with the right heart. Jesus did not begin His teaching on prayer with a list of requests. He began with worship. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. These are not just religious words, they are a gateway. To say hallowed be your name is to step onto holy ground, to leave the noise of the world, and center your soul on the greatness of God. When Moses approached the burning bush, God said, "Take off your sandals, for the place you are standing is holy." That was not about the dirt beneath his feet, it was about the attitude of his heart. When you come before God, how do you begin? Do you rush in with worry, or do you pause to recognize who you are speaking to? The creator of galaxies, the giver of breath, the one who holds your life in His hand. When you start your prayer with worship, everything else falls into place. You begin to see your problems in the light of His power. You stop begging and start trusting. You stop striving and start surrendering. Say this with me. God, you are holy. You are my Father, my Redeemer, my Provider. I lift up your name. That simple declaration shifts the atmosphere. It breaks chains of fear and makes room for faith. Worship is not just the beginning of prayer. It is the doorway to peace. The world may offer temporary relief, but when you worship the one true God, you are stepping into eternal presence. Before you ask for anything, lift Him up for who He is. That is where real prayer begins. Not with what you want, but with who He is. When you pray, are you trying to change God's mind, or are you asking Him to change your heart? That is a question we must all wrestle with. You see, many people come to God with long lists filled with desperate requests, urgent needs, and personal desires. But Jesus taught us a better way. He said, "Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven." That is not a formula. It is surrender. It means laying down your plans, your timeline, your expectations, and saying, "Father, I want what you want." I wonder, have you ever dared to pray that honestly? Can you say with your whole heart, "Lord, even if you do not answer the way I hope, I still trust you"? That kind of prayer is not weak. It is strong. It is faith at its purest. In the Garden of Gethsemane, facing death and agony, Jesus Himself prayed, "Not my will, but yours be done." If the Son of God could surrender to the Father's will in His darkest hour, can we not do the same in ours? Maybe today you are carrying plans that feel heavy. Maybe you have dreams that seem delayed. And perhaps deep down, you fear what might happen if you let go. But friend, real freedom begins where control ends. Let me ask you directly, are you ready to pray not for your will to be done, but for His? Are you willing to let go of your grip and trust that God's plan is better, even when it is slower or harder? If something in your heart is stirring right now, if you sense that quiet invitation from the Holy Spirit to surrender, then I want to ask you to do something bold and simple. Comment below these words, "I'm ready." Or even just type the number 1. That small act speaks volumes. It tells me you are not just watching. You are here. You are choosing to open your hands and your heart. And that means everything. I read every comment, and knowing you are with me in this moment, choosing faith over fear, surrender over striving, gives this message a living heartbeat. God says you. I see you, and I am so thankful for your courage. Many people pray as if they must convince God to solve tomorrow's problems today. They come with fear dressed up as faith. But Jesus taught us to pray differently. He said, "Give us this day our daily bread," not tomorrow's bread, not next month's provision, just today. Because God is not asking you to carry what has not yet come. He wants your trust right here, right now. That line is not just about food. It is about perspective. It teaches you to look at your current need, not your imagined crisis. When you pray for daily bread, you are training your soul to believe that God is near and that He provides in real time. You stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios and start receiving present grace. You stop drowning in what if and start standing in what is. Some people feel like if they do not figure it all out today, everything will collapse tomorrow. But the Father is not calling you to control the future. He is calling you to depend on Him today, just like He gave manna in the wilderness, one day at a time. Not more, not less. And if they tried to store it, it's spoiled. Why? Because God wanted them to trust, not hoard. You can have that same peace, but you have to stop living in the future. Ask yourself, what do I need from God right now? Not next week, not next year, just right now? Then say with courage, "Lord, I receive what you have for me today. I let go of what I cannot control. I stop chasing tomorrow and I rest in your promise for this moment." That kind of prayer is not passive, it is powerful. It releases you from anxiety and anchors you in trust. When you stop running ahead, you start walking in step with the one who leads, and there, even in uncertainty, you will find peace, because He is not only the God of your destiny, He is also the God of your daily bread. Have you ever tried to pray while holding bitterness in your heart? It is like trying to speak with your mouth full of stones. The words may come out, but they carry no power. Jesus taught us to pray, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." That one line reveals something most people overlook. Forgiveness is not just something you receive. It is something you must release. I once spoke with a man who said he prayed every day but felt distant from God. His heart was heavy, and he did not know why. Then one night, he admitted there was someone he had not forgiven for years. The moment he let go, his prayer life came alive again. Holding on to offense is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. It does not punish the other person, it poisons your soul. Jesus even said, "If you do not forgive others, your Father will not forgive you." That is not a threat, it is a mirror. How can grace flow through a heart blocked by resentment? Maybe there is someone you have carried in your heart for too long, their words, their betrayal, their silence, and you wonder why you feel stuck. Let me ask you, is it time to release them, not for their sake, but for yours? Not because they deserve it, but because you need freedom. Forgiveness is not agreement. It is surrender. It is saying, God, I give this hurt to you. I will not carry it anymore. When you do that, you make space for healing. So I ask you now, who do you need to forgive? Who is standing in the way of your breakthrough? If this part of the message is speaking to you, let me know. Type "I forgive" or even just comment the number 1. That way I know this message is reaching you. You are not alone in this moment. And I thank God for every person who dares to forgive, because forgiveness is not weakness. It is spiritual courage. It is trusting that God will take care of what you release. And when you pray with a clean heart, your words rise like incense. Heaven leans in. Chains fall. That is the power of a forgiving prayer. There is a part of the Lord's Prayer that many people recite without grasping its depth. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. These are not just words of protection. They are words of surrender. They acknowledge that you are not strong enough on your own. Temptation does not always come in loud and obvious ways. Sometimes it comes quietly, in a small compromise, in a delayed decision, in a silent anger that grows unchecked. And when it comes, it does not ask for your permission, it waits for your weakness. That is why Jesus taught us to pray for deliverance, because without God's strength, we fall. It is not a matter of if, but when. Scripture says, the enemy roams like a lion, seeking whom he may devour. But those who ask the Father for guidance, those who walk under his covering, are not easy targets. Think of Joseph. When faced with temptation in the house of Potiphar, he did not try to argue with it. He did not stay in the room hoping to resist it. He fled, because wisdom knows when to stand and when to run. And God honored that decision. When you ask God to lead you away from temptation, you are not saying you are perfect. You are saying you know your limits. And that is faith. Faith does not deny danger. Faith takes shelter. Prayer is not only about asking for what you want. It is about asking for what you need most in the battle you cannot see. Some temptations look like opportunities. Some evils wear disguises. That is why you must ask, Lord, show me what I cannot see. Steer my steps away from what seems right but leads to destruction. Deliver me from anything that pulls me from you. This kind of prayer is not weak. It is a declaration that you belong to the light. It is a cry that says you would rather lose the world than lose your soul. And God answers. He does not leave his children defenseless. He surrounds them. He strengthens them. He leads them beside still waters and restores their soul. When you pray this way, you are not hiding from life. You are walking through it with your eyes open and your spirit guarded by the one who knows the way. There is a quiet place where the noise of the world fades and the voice of God becomes clear. Jesus said, "When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen." He was not giving a ritual. He was revealing a principle. The power of prayer is not found in performance. It is found in intimacy. We live in a world that celebrates visibility. If it is not seen, it is not valued. But the kingdom of God does not work that way. God rewards what is done in secret, not because he ignores the public, but because he honors the private. When you pray behind closed doors, you are not hiding, you are being honest. You are stepping away from distraction and stepping into communion. That kind of prayer cannot be fake. It has no audience but heaven. Think about this. When Daniel was forbidden to pray, he still did it 3 times a day. Not to make a statement, but because his soul depended on it. He opened his windows not to be seen, but because his heart was already open to God. Your private life with God will determine the strength of your public walk. If you want peace in the storm, find stillness in secret. If you want clarity in chaos, listen in silence. The loudest answers often begin with the quietest moments. You do not need a stage. You need a corner. A place where your soul can breathe and your spirit can speak without pretense. Find that space. It could be your bedroom, a walk at dawn, the seat in your car before work. And when you get there, do not worry about what to say. Just be real. Say, "Lord, I am here. I do not have all the right words, but I know you hear. Speak to me. Lead me. Heal me." That is the kind of prayer God responds to. Not the one filled with perfect phrases, but the one that comes from a real heart. You do not need to be loud to be heard. You just need to be honest. And when you close the door on the world, you open the door to God. That is where transformation begins. In secret, in stillness, in surrender. Have you ever stayed silent in prayer because you thought your words were not good enough? Maybe you felt like you had to sound holy or say all the right things for God to listen. But Jesus said something that broke that idea completely. He said, "When you pray, do not use vain repetitions like the pagans, for they think they will be heard for their many words." That truth sets you free. It means you do not need to perform for God. He is not impressed by long speeches. He is moved by sincerity. When Hannah prayed for a child, she did not give a fancy speech. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. And yet, God heard because He was listening to her heart. Maybe today you feel like you are not spiritual enough to pray. Maybe you do not have the vocabulary or the confidence. But let me tell you something important. The most powerful prayers are often the simplest. Sometimes all you need to say is, "Lord, I am hurting. Please help." Or, "Lord, I do not understand, but I trust you." That is real. That is enough. Because God does not respond to perfect language. He responds to honest hearts. You do not need to wait until you have it all together. You do not need to be strong to start. You just need to be real. That is where transformation begins. In honesty, in brokenness, in surrender. Let me ask you something personal. What is holding you back from praying like that? Is it fear? Is it shame? Is it doubt? You do not have to carry that anymore. You can step into freedom today. You can pray without pretending. You can come just as you are. Right now, if you feel that desire stirring in you to begin praying from a place of truth, if something inside you is saying, I want this, I want to talk to God without fear or formality, I want to walk with Him in a real way, then I invite you to do something small but powerful. Comment below, I'm ready. Or simply type the number 1. That little step is a way of saying, I am not hiding anymore. I am here, and I want more of God. And friend, that matters. It matters to me. It matters to the God who made you. It tells me that this message is not falling into silence. It is reaching real heart. And I am deeply grateful for your presence, because you are not just a viewer. You are a soul that God is calling closer. And today could be the day that changes everything. Why does it feel like your prayers are hitting the ceiling? Why do you speak but feel no peace? Cry out but sense no answer? Could it be that you are speaking but not connecting? You were not created to recite empty phrases or carry anxiety into silence. You were created to walk and talk with your Creator, not as a stranger, but as a child who belongs. That is what prayer truly is. A conversation that aligns your heart with the heart of God, a meeting place between your weakness and His strength, a sacred moment where heaven leans in and says, I hear you. But for many, prayer has become a ritual, a habit without heat. You rush in with your requests, but forget to honor the one you are speaking to. You ask for results, but resist surrender. You want answers, but hold back your trust. And Jesus saw all of this. That is why He taught us how to pray, not to limit us, but to liberate us. He showed us that real prayer begins with worship, not worry. That it continues with surrender, not strategy. That it requires trust for today, not panic for tomorrow. That it demands forgiveness, not bitterness. That it calls for honesty, not performance. That it grows in private, not in public display. And above all, that it is grounded in faith, even when the answer is slow, even when the silence is long. Do not forget this. When you pray according to His word, you are not speaking into the air. You are declaring His promises back to Him. You are stepping into the same pattern Jesus followed, and that pattern brings power, it brings clarity, it brings peace. But you have to choose it. You have to shut the door to noise and open the door to God. You have to lay down polished words and pick up honest ones. You have to stop measuring the length of your prayer and start checking the posture of your heart. This is not about being religious. This is about being real. And maybe that is what you need more than anything today. A reset, a return, a new way to pray. Because when you learn to speak to God the way Jesus showed you, you will begin to hear Him speak back. And that is where everything changes. That is where your fear breaks. That is where your shame lifts. That is where your strength rises. That is where your life begins again. In the quiet, in the presence, in the truth. And if this message stirred something in you, then do not stop here. In the next video, we are going deeper into the one thing that can restore what you thought was lost. What Jesus said about it will shake everything you believe. So stay with me. Your breakthrough might be closer than you think.